All right, good morning. It's Friday, right? Good for us, right? We made it through another 5-day week deal, and hope you got some great weekend things planned. It's the 4th of July weekend, and so should be fun. I hope you're hanging out with family or friends or whatever. I think this 4th, all my family's scattered everywhere, so we'll see what we can get into this weekend. I think we're taking a little road trip today, and just kind of having fun and testing out the new car and all those kind of things. So should be a great day. Any day with the Tamster is a good day in my book. So I'm looking forward to that. Hey, let's just jump into some truth here, and we are in the final hours of the life of Jesus. I was looking today. This is the 77th lesson that we've taught through the book of Mark. So if this was just regular Sunday sermons and we were a church and we were only teaching one Sunday morning, it would be almost a year and a half we would have spent in the Gospel of Mark. But as it is, we've only spent really a few months from May to now, and so it's been a great trip, great journey, and so I'm looking forward to all that God has for us in the last few sessions of this. So let's just jump into it. Let me kind of bring you up to speed with where we are, just in case you're kind of new to us or you missed a few days. It's early in the morning, daybreak now. So Jesus has cleansed the temple. He has cursed the fig tree. He has spoken about end times. He has confronted the Pharisees and the people in a public for the last time when he left the temple. They asked him the question about how beautiful these things are, and then he began to talk about the end times. Then they have Passover. We looked at that. Then he's arrested in the garden. We saw the trial of before Annas and before Caiaphas, all in kind of within one building as far as we understand. And the last bit that we looked at yesterday, the focus was on Peter and his denial of Jesus 3 times, the rooster crowing. And as that crowed the second time, he sees Jesus, locks all eyes with him as Jesus is passing under the porch, or through the porch rather, as he's kind of off trying to hide, but they lock eyes. Jesus is being carried out. It's daybreak. They had to wait till daybreak to kind of do the public thing so the leaders could have a sphere of legality about what's taking place. This has all been a sham. In fact, in their law, in Roman law, there had to have been like a 48-hour period before any crucifixion could take place, any sort of, just in case some other testimony surfaces, much like we have appeals in our court system before someone concurs the death sentence. And so this is where it is. It's early in the morning. He's been brought before Annas and Caiaphas. He's been slapped. He's been spit on. He's been mocked. He's been beaten. This is our Savior. This is what's happened to him. He's been lied about. He's had bungled false testimonies come, and there was no consistency at all, and yet nothing was done to those. Even as we pointed out yesterday, by law, those people should have endured the same treatment that they were trying to get Jesus. So if they were trying to get Jesus killed, then they would be killed. That's the severity of a false testimony and a false witness. They were plenty, but nobody cared about that. This is not about that. This is about hatred for the Son of God. Pure, evil hatred. Their pride versus truth. And this is what's going on. So, finally, they accuse him of the one thing that they can find in his blasphemy. That's when Caiaphas rips his clothes because he said, truthfully, that he was the Son of God. So he truthfully answers that question, that he's the Son of God. And that's when all this happens. 3.5 years in the public eye. We have all witnessed that he was the Son of God. The miracles, the teaching, all of the things that took place, the prophetic statements that he made, that all came true. Everything about him. Not one evidence is there that would dispute that he is the Son of God. Yet they call it blasphemy. So now they pass through the porch. Peter in denial and all of that. But the whole council, it says, they make their way to Pilate's house. So we're in Mark chapter 15, and I'm going to read. I have another book. I keep all these series of books. This is a harmony of the Gospels. It's an amazing deal. It's fallen apart, but it's an amazing book because it kind of lets you see in parallel where all of the teachings, the Gospels, each one, where it says something maybe slightly different or adds to it and all of those things. So this is, I'm going to be reading some from that today too. We're just mostly going to be reading the story. And so this is where we pick ourselves up. Now, why are they taking him to Pilate? Why that? Why didn't they? Because they can't kill someone. Now, they do stone. But according to the scriptures, they would see the Son of Man lifted up. And so there is this crucifixion thing. So part of this is because it's God's will that this happens. The other phase is because when John tells us in 1831 that they're not permitted to put anyone to death. Pilate's like, so why are you bringing this guy to me? Well, because we're not permitted to kill anybody. So now, we're in Mark chapter 15. Let's pick it up from there. It says, and early in the morning, the chief priest with the elders and scribes and the whole council immediately hold a consultation. So this is all the aftermath before they go to Pilate. They just had this one more powwow. Yes, this is definitely what we're going to do. So John picks up the story. Let me get to it. I think yep. So they take him to Pilate. And they ask him some questions, which he already answered. We get to verse, then he says, and binding Jesus, the rest of verse 15, they led him away and delivered him to Pilate. So there's where we are. Now, we're at Pilate. Now, Pilate's house. Pilate is the Roman representative in Jerusalem. Herod will be that in Galilee. Pilate will be that in Jerusalem. And so these are, Rome has overtaken Israel. So these are now the governors, consuls, whatever you want to call them. They would call themselves king, whatever they are. They're little peons in their domain in the Roman realm. But he is the final authority, Pilate is, as far as Roman rule in that region. And so they bring him to his house now, or his place, now, the Praetorium. Now, those are all in close proximity. It's kind of like, when you go into a city, you see all of the government buildings are kind of all in one location, and that's what's going on. We have that here in Birmingham. We're the capital of Jefferson County, and so you'll see that courthouse. There's a city courthouse, right? They're all kind of there together. You simply have to walk across Lynn Park to get from one to the other here in Birmingham, and whatever it is in your city. But that's kind of how this is. So that's where we are. So they bring him to Pilate, and this is what it says. They led Jesus, therefore, this is John 18. They led Jesus, therefore, from Caiaphas into the Praetorium, and it was early, and they themselves did not enter into the Praetorium in order that they may not be defiled, but might eat the Passover. Can you imagine the hypocrisy of this? They are celebrating the Passover, reminding them of deliverance from bondage into freedom, and yet they are delivering their freedom over to Rome. And they don't want to defile themselves. They've already defiled themselves. A bunch of lying, thieving, prideful, arrogant people who just hate everything but their own greed and power. This is who they are. Pilate, therefore, went out to them and said, "What So they're not coming in. So Pilate steps out, asks them this question. So what accusations do you bring against this man? Well, they answered, and they said to him, if this man were not an evildoer, we would not have delivered him to you. Because they really don't have a reason to bring him. Well, if he wasn't an evildoer, we wouldn't be bringing him here. Just go ahead and condemn the man. This is what they're asking. Pilate therefore said to them, take him yourselves and judge him according to your law. The Jews said to Jesus, but we are not permitted to put anyone to death, that the word of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spoke, signifying what kind of death he was about to die. Remember when he said the Son of Man will be lifted up? Now, Pilate, therefore, entered again into the Praetorium and summoned Jesus and said to him. So now we're back in Mark. If you're with Mark, you can look in verse 2. And Pilate questioned him, Are you the king of the Jews? And answering, he said, It is as you say. What's he saying? Yeah, I'm the king of the Jews. Now, that's Mark's short version. But John, remember, he was there as well, right? He went in he's the one who got Peter into the court. He's here too. So he's kind of firsthand witness, giving us a little more of the story. And it says, when he says, Are you king of the Jews? This is how Jesus, the long extended version. Are you saying this on your own initiative, or did others tell you about me? So are you asking me because you want to know, or because somebody else has already told you about me? You see the sheer confidence in the King of Kings before any person that they bring before him? There's no one who has the authority that he does. This isn't arrogance. This is reality. Jesus isn't intimidated by anyone because he created them. He is God. He was there when they were planned to be born at the times in which they were born. And so Jesus answered, Are you saying this on your own? Pilate answered, I'm not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests delivered you to me. What have you done? Jesus answered, My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would be fighting. Now, he has no idea what kind of servants Jesus is talking about. Remember, he already said, hey, I could call 10,000 legion of angels if I want to at this moment. Pilate has no idea who is standing before him. And he says, my kingdom's not of this world, Pilate. You have nothing to worry about from a human perspective. If my kingdom were of this world, my soldiers would be fighting now, that I might not be delivered to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not of this world. Pilate therefore said to him, So you are a king? Jesus answered, You say correctly that I am a king. See, that's the short version Mark gave us. For this I have been born, and for this I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. Pilate said to him, Whoa, what's truth? And when he had said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to him, I find no guilt in him. So that's the longer version of what's taking place. Now, he says this, back to Mark. Do you make no answer? See how many charges they bring against you? But no further answer, so that Pilate was amazed. Now, there's a short segment, which I'm going to read real quickly, because when Pilate realized that he's from Galilee, which is what Luke says that they're saying, oh, but look, he stirs up everybody from Galilee all the way down. And Pilate goes, wait, Galilee? Well, that's where Herod, if this thing started in Herod's territory, Herod needs to do this. And so here's what happens. He goes before Herod. Herod questions him. He says nothing to Herod. Not one word, nothing to Herod. He stands there in silence. They mock him. They put a robe on him, and they send him back to Pilate. So now we're back to Pilate now. So there was that brief interlude where that takes place. Now we come back to Pilate, and it says this in verse 6. Now at the feast, he used to release for them any one prisoner whom they had requested. And the man named Barabbas had been imprisoned with the insurrectionists who had committed murder in the insurrection. So here's this rebel of Rome. Well, I mean, one who is like hated by Rome, not so much by the Jews, but hated by Rome, and he had committed murder. And the multitude went up and began to ask him to do as he had been accustomed to do for them. So the multitude, now it's morning now, it's probably 6 a.m. There's a scurry going on. You know, instead of reading the news or scrolling through a social media, they go down to the town square, they see what's going on. They know there's trials and crucifixions and all of that. And so they're all there. And it says that the Pharisees had stirred the crowd up, but we'll get to that in a minute. So Luke reminds us in verse 23:13, and Pilate summoned the chief priests and the rulers of the people and said to them, You brought this man to me as one who incites the people to rebellion. And behold, having examined him before you, I have found no guilt in this man, regarding the charges which you made against him. No, nor has Herod, for he sent him back to us, and behold, nothing deserving death has been done by him. The Jews are not very happy right now because the Romans are going, this isn't a big deal. This is your problem. This is not a big deal. Now they're all upset. He says, I will therefore punish him and release him. Then it says back to Mark, and Pilate answered them, do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews? Don't you love how he's just, hey, this king of the Jews, don't you want me to release your king to you? For he was aware that the chief priests had delivered him up because of envy. He like, you guys are just envious. I'm going to deliver to you the king. Now, while he was sitting in judgment seat, this is an interesting deal that Matthew records. While he's sitting in judgment, here's what it says. For he knew that because of envy they had delivered him up. And while he's sitting in judgment, his wife sent him a message saying, have nothing to do with this man. He is a righteous man. For last night I suffered greatly in a dream because of him. God gave Pilate's wife a dream. She refers to him as a righteous man. Whatever was in this dream, it caused great turmoil in her own life. But the one truth that she brought out was, don't do anything to this man. He's righteous. He's the good guy. But the chief priest and the elders persuaded the multitudes to ask for Barabbas and to put him to death. So they're working the crowd. We need to get Barabbas. He's on our side, man. He's an insurrectionist. We need to get Jesus out of here. He's the one that's causing trouble. And so they're out there stirring all this stuff up. Verse 21 in Matthew. But the governor answered and said to them, which of the two do you want me to release for you? And they said, Barabbas. Now, a little more of the story. Then Pilate took Jesus, scourged him. So he beats him, thinking, okay, well, maybe that'll satisfy. Listen, he's got his voice of his wife screaming in his ears. He don't want to have anything to do with this. He scourges him. That's like beats him, right? He has him beaten. And the soldiers wove a crown of thorns, put it on his head, and arrayed him in purple robes. So the soldiers have no dog in this fight. They just hate everybody. They love power. They're arrogant little guys. And so they make a crown of thorns. Here's the king. And they put a purple robe on him. And they begin to come up to him and say, Hail, King of the Jews, and to give him blows in the face. And Pilate came out again and said to them, Behold, I am bringing him out to you, that you may know I find no guilt in him. This is what he says. Look, I'm done. Now, Pilate's not innocent. He beat Jesus. He allowed the soldiers to mock him, and then to punch him in the face, to put this crown of thorns on his head, so that he's got blood everywhere. He's got this purple robe on, and it says when Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate said to them, Behold the man, behold the king, behold the Son of God. Now, back to Matthew. Matthew says, and answering again, Pilate was saying to them, What then shall I do with him who you call the King of the Jews? And they shouted back, Crucify him! But Pilate was saying to them, Why? What evil has he done? Why? But they shout back all the more, Crucify him! And that's verse 14. And then before we get to the last one, here's what takes place. The Jews answered, We have a law, and by that law he ought to die, because he made him out to be the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard this statement, he was all the more afraid. Whoa. He's not your king. He's the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard this statement, he entered the praetorium again and said to Jesus, Where exactly are you from? But Jesus didn't answer him anymore. Pilate therefore said to him, You do not speak to me. Do you not know that I have authority to release you, and I have authority to crucify you? Listen, you better help me out here. Jesus answered, You would have no authority unless it had been given to you from above. For this reason, he who delivers me up to you has the greater sin. Look, you're in trouble, but these guys are the ones. As a result of this, Pilate made efforts to release him. Pilate said, I've got to get out of this. I can't do this. But the Jews cried out, saying, If you release this man, you're no friend of Caesar. Now he's a little freaked because he doesn't want to lose his job, doesn't want to get punished. Everyone who makes himself out to be a king opposes Caesar. When Pilate therefore heard these words, that's the final straw. That's the one piece that caused all of this whole charade to crumble down and for Pilate to actually do what he did. He brought Jesus out, sat down on the judgment seat in the place called the pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now it was the day of preparation for the Passover. It was about the 6th hour, and he said to the Jews, "Behold your king." They therefore cried out, "Away with him! Away with him! Crucify him," they said. "Shall I crucify your king?" the chief priest answered. "We have no king but Caesar." Now Matthew says, when Pilate saw that he was accomplishing nothing, but rather that a riot was starting, he washed his hands in front of the multitude and says, "I am innocent of this man's blood. See to that yourselves." And all the people answered him, "His blood will be on us and on our children." Can you imagine what's going on here? This is crazy. And then we finish our story. And wishing to satisfy the multitude, Pilate released Barabbas for them, and having Jesus scourged, he delivered him to be crucified. Tomorrow, we'll get to the crucifixion, or Tuesday rather. But wow, what a powerful story, right? Man, Lord bless you guys. Have a great weekend. And Lord willing, I'll see you Tuesday.